Spring is now upon us, and it's time for us to start working on that never-ending gardening list. One thing that I do have and I do love is my dwarf conifers. I think the dwarf conifers are a very underutilized plant in the landscape. Let's take this Hinoki cypress, for instance. This only get about 4 feet tall, and it works great in the landscape, partial shady area, and it's very happy. Over here we have Cryptomeria. This Cryptomeria gets white tips on the spring, it's new growth, and then gets about 4 feet tall, but in a container, of course, it stays a lot smaller. Other options that you can have is maybe you can try Thuja Pancake. Thuja Pancake only gets about 2 feet tall, about 3 feet wide, and it can take more sun. You can also have a dwarf Cryptomeria that gets about 2 feet tall as well. If you need something that's going to be in a shady area, look into a dwarf hemlock. Hemlocks can survive in a darker shade and will be very happy. One of the things that happens in the spring is that we have to go through and start cleaning up our conifers and evergreens. So when you see the browning of these limbs, it's just very easy to go through and just do some clipping, getting the brown out, and just start looking and seeing if there is any other dead or dying branches that you need to clip out and just get those all cleaned up for spring. As far as mulch goes, I like to use stone, but if you don't want to use stone, you can still use a hardwood mulch. There's so many different options that you can choose. I personally like stone just because it gives it a nice alpine feel. I hope that everyone will give a dwarf conifer a try, but if you do decide to grow one in a container, just remember, try to find one that grows in a zone lower than yours. Here in zone 7, I always try to find one that will survive in zone 6. So further out in the west, try looking into ones that will survive in a zone 5. That way, that will ensure that your plant will survive the winter being outside of the ground because the air temperature is a lot colder. So please give it a try. I think there is a dwarf conifer that can fit into any landscape.